Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where and when you are joining us. I am your host, Katie Milton Jordan, and we are here for workshop 2 of the AI action class devoted to the gap and the gain. That is our book club pick that we are currently working through. So let's jump into it. The Gap and the Gain is a book by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. We are meeting March 19th, April 2nd, which is today, April 9th, and April 23rd, Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And the replays and recordings are posted to our YouTube channel. All right, let's take a look. We like to remind folks that if you want to go deeper into this content, we encourage you to read the book. This workshop is a starting point, and the book is the full experience. We are teaching AI fluency, learning by doing with AI. So how our AI action classes work is it always follows this same agenda. We always have a welcome and context at the top of the call. We spend a few minutes talking about the concepts inside the book pick, and then we actually spend the majority of our time applying the AI workflows, and that gives us an opportunity to build with AI. Then we come back together in community to share our feedback and insights. So in the book, The Gap and the Gain, there are 2 ways to measure yourself. Most people measure themselves against an ideal that they'll never reach, and that is the gap. The alternative is measuring backward from where you started, and that is the gain. So it's the same progress, but a completely different experience. So gap is measuring forward, gain is measuring backward, comparing where you are to where you started, recognizing real progress, building confidence, gratitude, and momentum from what's actually happened. So here's the outline of our 4 workshops. Now we've already completed workshop 1, where we did from the gap to the gain, measuring what matters. And today we are working on transforming experiences into gains. So we will learn to extract gains from any experience, wins, setbacks, and everything in between. The key topics that we're going to cover in today's workshop is experience extraction, turning our failures into data, the always be learning trap versus real gain harvesting, and gratitude as a strategic tool. So the deliverable that we're going to be working towards is creating a gain extraction journal, a structured reflection tool that converts your last 90 days of experience into measurable gains. So as always, we are going to go to bit.ly/AI formula, all one word, all capital letters. And this is where we are going to access our workflow. Now, before we get into our workflow in the shared drive, let's take a look at this workflow so we can understand what a workflow is and how it's going to work for us. Illustrated on the screen is an example of an AI workflow. And in here, I always encourage people to read the first paragraph, then scan each one of the steps so that we have a sense of what we're going to be doing with AI in this session, and that helps get our head in the right spot for the context that we need in order to create the final deliverable. Now, Brandon and I, just before the call started, had a great conversation about the differences and similarities between a long prompt and an AI workflow. So an AI workflow is a long prompt, but a long prompt is not necessarily an AI workflow. So a few things that make our AI workflows different from a long prompt is that an AI workflow, we build some important guardrails into the AI workflow. One of those is that we create this to run this step by step. And what happens when we run it step by step is that AI will dynamically adjust its next questions and context based on the information that we give it. And that allows us to get a more personalized or customized output. The other thing that we bake into these workflows is keeping AI on some guardrails so that it doesn't go down a rabbit hole and ask you if you want to produce a whole bunch of deliverables that are not important to you. So those are a few of the things that we bake into our AI workflows. But let's take a look. Here is our public drive. You can see that we have a variety of AI action classes that we have taught in the past that are all available in this public drive. But what we are going into is we're going into the gap and the gain folder so we can access workshop 2. Workshop 2 right here. So now, as I just instructed, we want to scan the introductory paragraph, and we also want to read each one of the steps in this AI workflow so that we have a sense of what we are going to be creating with AI today. So we are instructing the AI to be an expert in gap and gain thinking, drawing on the principles from Dan Sullivan and Dr. Hardy. The AI is going to guide us through creating a gain extraction journal, a structured reflection tool that converts our last 90 days of experience into measurable gains. At each step, the AI is going to explain where we're at in the process, ask for context to complete the step, perform the action, confirm completion, and then move on to the next step. The goal is to finish a complete gain extraction journal by the time we reach the final step. So let's take a look at what each one of the steps are. Now, in step 1, we are going to map our last 90 days. In step 2, we are going to extract the obvious gains. In step 3, we are going to extract the hidden gains. In step 4, we are going to measure and rank the gains. And in step 5, we will create our final deliverable, the gain extraction journal. So let's start by copying all of the text in this AI workflow prompt. And today I am going to be working with Claude again. I thought for a moment that I might experiment with, let me make sure we're still live. Okay. All right. I thought I lost you guys there for a second. Did my screen stop sharing? No, we're still good. Okay, thank you for the head nod, Chelsea. I thought I would experiment with ChatGPT this morning because they did just come out with a update, but since we're trying to extract my experiences from the last 90 days, I am going to use Claude because that's what I've been working in the last 90 days. So I've now pasted our workflow in here, and I want to say run this step by step. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this step by step. Okay, so now we have our gain extraction coach. And you can see at the beginning, it's giving us a little bit of education. What most people do is they live 90 days, check off some things, miss some others, and move into the next 90 days carrying only a vague sense of whether they're actually getting anywhere. The gap pulls all the attention, the ideal that wasn't reached, the goal that shifted, the version of yourself you haven't become yet. Gain thinking flips that. It says, before you look forward, look backward with intention and measure what actually moved. Progress that isn't measured isn't felt. And progress that isn't felt doesn't build the confidence and momentum for what comes next. So the 5 steps we're going to work through together are mapping the last 90 days, extract the obvious gains, extract the hidden gains, measure and rank your gains, and build your gain extraction journal. And it also says, before we dive in, would you like a quick refresher on gap versus gain thinking, or are you ready to jump straight into number 1? And I'm actually going to ask for a refresher because I want to illustrate a few things to you guys as we work through this. Number 1, if you are new to the AI action class, I'd like to invite you to either complete this AI workflow the same time that I'm demonstrating it on the screen, or you are welcome to watch the demonstration and then complete the AI workflow. You guys know your learning styles better than I do, so please self-manage and pick if you want to run this the same time that I am while demonstrating on the screen. That's perfectly fine. If not, you can go ahead and run this after I conclude the demonstration. The other thing I want to point out is that when I hit the button refresher, it's actually illustrating for us how we can learn by doing with AI. So we're going to learn quickly about the core idea in the gap and the gain. So most folks measure themselves against an ideal, a vision of where they should be, and that's always moving forward. It's a moving horizon. That is the gap. And living in the gap is exhausting because by definition, you can never catch the horizon. Gain thinking measures backwards. So not against the ideal ahead, but against where you actually were before. The question isn't how far from where I want to be. The question is how far have I come, right? Same life, completely different experience. And why it matters is that Sullivan and Hardy have found that high performers who consistently measure their gains, build genuine confidence, make better decisions, experience more momentum. The gains were always there, they just went unmeasured, and unmeasured progress evaporates. So one simple test. Think about something hard you did 2 years ago that feels easy now. You didn't notice the transformation while it was happening. That's a hidden gain that was never claimed. This journal claims them. Ready to map your last 90 days? Let's go to step 1. I also want to remind folks that if what you are seeing on my screen is different from what you're seeing on your screen, that is perfectly okay, because what we're also witnessing is the ability to customize education at scale by using AI, right? So your answers are going to be different from mine. So AI is going to dynamically change its responses and context based on what you give it. So map your last 90 days. No filtering, no grading. We're getting everything on the table, the wins, the grind, the pivots, the hard stuff. You need raw material before you can extract anything. Your last 90 days runs roughly January through today, early April 2026. Take your time with these 3 questions, answer them however it feels natural, bullet points, brain dump, stream of consciousness. The AI is going to organize it for us. So it's asking us about our work life. What were the 3 to 5 biggest things that happened in your work world over the last 90 days? Project launched, conversations had, decisions made, milestones hit, clients served. In your personal life, 3 to 5 biggest things that happened personally. Setbacks and challenges. Was there anything during this period that felt like a failure, a disappointment, a hard moment, or something that just didn't go the way you wanted? And I'm also going to illustrate for you how we can partner with AI so that AI does some of this heavy lifting for us. So I'm going to tell the AI, answer these cues based on what you know about me. And this is one way that we can partner with AI to delegate some of this to our AI assistant. And then we don't have to fill in all the blanks because AI knows a little bit of helpful information about us. So work life in the last 90 days, we completed and delivered the funding finder dashboard, an RFQ proposal, high volume LinkedIn outreach, 2 speaking engagements, live client demo, building and refining the CEO operating system, personal life, planned and executed a surprise birthday party for my husband, navigated the ongoing reality of running multiple businesses simultaneously, managing life in Mason County with all the texture that comes with it, and setbacks and challenges. Honestly, I don't have clean visibility here yet. This is an area I'd want you to fill in. Okay, so yes, that looks good. How close is this? What's missing, wrong, or needs more truth added, especially on the personal side and the hard stuff? Okay, so now I'm going to use my Whisper Flow tool to dictate some information to AI, which is another way to make this work a little bit of a lighter lift. Okay, in my personal life in the last 90 days, I started a new health regime that I am proud of and excited about experimenting with. In terms of setbacks and challenges, I think that the things that have been hardest for me the last 90 days have just been finding a more healthy rhythm. I've been working a lot of really long days and always near burnout. Putting in a lot of long hours. So that has been a challenge that I am actively working to change. Setbacks, I don't know that there have been any major setbacks in the last 90 days, thankfully. We are working through some challenging projects with the Erna Sands entity at the moment, and we have some tight deadlines over the next 30 days. So That, I guess I can't say it's a setback, but it definitely feels like a high priority challenge that I really wish I didn't have to deal with, but it is what it is. Okay, so now you can see that my Whisper Flow tool has populated all of that information in here, and we can share that with the AI to help move us to our next step. So here is our map. Okay, work events, personal events, setbacks and challenges. Does this capture the major beats of your last 90 days? Anything to add, remove? If this feels right, let's start extracting the gains. So I'm going to tell AI, looks good, proceed. Extract the obvious gains. Great. Now we go from inventory to meaning. We're looking at your work and personal events and asking what actually moved forward here. These are the gains that are visible. You probably already know they're there, but I bet you haven't stopped long enough to really feel their size. True. 3 questions, answer as fully or as briefly as feels right. So work events, looking at your work events from the map. Which ones moved you closer to where you want to be, even by a small amount? What specifically felt like forward motion? Personal events, looking at your personal events. Where did you grow, improve, or build something that didn't exist 90 days ago? And the emotional contrast for the gains you identify. How would 90 days ago Katie have felt if someone told her these things were going to happen? What would she have said? Again, I can take a first pass on this based on what I know about you if you like, and you can correct and add, or you can lead. I'm actually going to ask AI to take a first pass based on what it knows about me. Again. And while it's doing that, I'm going to look back here at my 90-day event and think about these questions. Okay. A lot of work stuff was done. New health, birthday party, business entities, near burnout, high pressure situation. Yes. Okay, so which ones moved you closer? Where did you grow, improve, or build something that didn't exist? And the emotional contrast. Work events, the funding finder. It was a market differentiating tool. Yep. Didn't exist in the space and directly supports the core revenue. That's IP creation, not project completion. Pursued the RFQ contract. The speaking slots. Okay, 2 confirmed stages in your target market in the same quarter. That's brand building. Okay, Ricky Hayes demo, live client walk through your framework. LinkedIn outreach, CEO operating system, working on the business, not just in it, personal events, new health regime, Joel's surprise birthday party. 90 days ago, Katie would have said, this is my honest guess, you tell me how close I am. On the speaking slot, 2 stages in 1 quarter, that would feel like real traction. On the funding finder, that's the kind of thing that makes Simply DO feel legitimate, like we're building something real. On the health regime, honestly, I'd be relieved. This is something I needed to do for myself for a while. On Joel's party, that would make me emotional. I'm glad I made it happen. How close is this? What needs to be rewarded, elevated, or added? And how does that emotional contrast actually land for you? Yes, that feels accurate. Okay, so we are going to move us on to our next step, or we're going to get our obvious gains table. Okay, so we've got the event, we've got the gain, we've got the size of the gain, and then we've got the emotional contrast, what I would have said 90 days ago. Great. So do any of them feel bigger than you realized? If so, let's go deeper. Step 3 is where it gets interesting, the gains hiding inside the hard stuff. Okay, so let's take a look at this gains table for the reframes. So the funding finder dashboard, we created IP. It's AI is suggesting that this was a large gain, saying that 90 days ago, I would have said that's the kind of thing that makes Simply DO feel legitimate, like we're building something real. Yes, that statement resonates for me. I definitely feel that. So we've got the RFQ that we sent in, AI suggesting this is a large gain, and saying 2 stages in 1 quarter, that would feel like real traction. And actually, I think that AI got this wrong because we're talking about the RFQ, not the speaking confirmation. So I'm curious why AI is talking about 2 stages in 1 quarter when we're talking about an RFQ. So in read this, isn't this in the wrong cell? This item is in regards to an RFQ. Not speaking. So we'll give AI that feedback. Now let's look at these speaking confirmations. That would feel like real traction. I'd know the message is landing, and that emotional resonance does land for me. I do feel that way. I have gotten a lot of speaking requests recently, and it really excites me. It does help me feel like the message is landing. So the live demo that I've been creating for my clients is a medium gain. That would feel like we actually have something worth showing. Yes, that is true. The outreach campaigns, medium gain, consistent. That's the word. I just want to stay consistent. Yes, and I'm going to add some feedback on this and read this. Consistency has always been a bit of a challenge for me because before I worked with AI, I wasn't able to track my metrics and have a feedback loop that let me know what was working and wasn't working. So I would constantly be trying different strategies, but consistency here is a big win for me. Okay, so the Whisper Flow tool has added some more context to that. We've got the CEO operating system. We're now on version 3. A medium gain, actually, I think that that's probably a large gain. So I'm going to redefine that one. This feels like a monster gain because it is such a game changer for how I work and how work gets done in general across all industries and roles. Okay, now surprise birthday party. This is probably not a medium gain. It's probably a small gain, but we will leave that there because it's not super material. So seeing these laid out, do any of them feel bigger than you realized? Yep. Okay. So now we've got our context and adjustments in there. And I also want to bring your attention to the fact that AI is actually really good at creating the first draft of something. In fact, AI is better at creating a first draft of something than humans are. Humans excel in editing, right? That's why humans can frequently suffer from writer's block. Now, AI, thankfully, does not suffer from writer's block. It is always real quick to create the first draft of something, but us as humans can be the ones to edit what AI is creating, and that is one way to collaborate with AI to compress the amount of time it takes to create a deliverable. So AI is confirming all 3 catches are correct. Let's fix them now. So we've got our revised table. Okay. So now that is updated. Sustained measurable consistency, that's large. For the LinkedIn outreach, the monster gain for the CEO operating system. Okay, so does this version feel more accurate? If so, let's go find what's hiding in the hard stuff. So I'm going to say yes and proceed. This is the best step. Well, I am excited. Hidden gains are the ones that never get claimed because they came wrapped in something hard, or they happened so gradually you didn't notice, or they just felt like doing your job so you didn't count them. Sullivan and Hardy are clear. The richest gains are almost always the ones you never measured, not because they're small, but because you were too busy looking at the gap to see them. 3 questions. I'll take a first pass again based on what I know about you, and you can see that AI is now learning how I like to work with it, and so it's taking the initiative to say, I'll take the first pass. The hard stuff, looking at your setbacks and challenges, the burnout pattern, the earnest sands pressure, the long days. What did you learn, build, or become because of them that you wouldn't have otherwise? Gradual shifts. Is there a skill, relationship, capability, or way of thinking you now have that you didn't have 90 days ago? But it happened so quietly, you almost didn't notice it. And what you stopped. What's something you stopped doing, tolerating, or believing in the last 90 days? What did that removal create space for? So here's what AI is saying. It thinks about me, the hard stuff. The near burnout pattern isn't just a warning signal, it forced you to start building systems instead of relying on willpower. The CEO operating system, Claudia, the entire agent infrastructure, these weren't just productivity tools, they were survival architecture. You built them because you had to. True. Ernest Sand's pressure is teaching you something about operating in complexity across multiple entities simultaneously. There's a capability most people never develop because they never run 4 businesses at once. Probably because they're smart or sane. I don't know. The long hours may have actually sharpened your instinct for what only Katie can do versus what can be delegated to an agent. Actually, that is true. So what we're seeing here is that the hard stuff are actually constraints that hold us accountable to changing the way that we get things done, right? The gradual shifts. Your relationship with AI shifted from tool user to systems architect. Exactly. You don't just use Claude, you build with it, deploy it, teach it, and sell it. That happened gradually enough that you might not feel how significant that identity shift is. That is true. That definitely, I've been doing this, for 3 years now, deep in the weeds on AI. And every single day there's a baby step that happens. And so I will definitely say that that was gradual, but now I'm understanding how significant that identity shift is based on how many times folks are asking me to speak and teach and so on and so forth. Your ability to hold multiple businesses without losing the thread on any of them, that's cognitive and operational capability that compounded quietly. But that's also AI systems helping me in the background. Trust in Chelsea as a genuine operations partner, not just support staff. That relationship matured. What you stopped and made what it made room for. This one I'm least certain about. What I stopped. I guess you've started to stop tolerating the idea that you have to do everything yourself. The agent infrastructure is evidence of that belief shifting. I'd also guess that the health regime represents stopping the pattern of putting yourself last. Yes. Let's do that. How close am I? What's missing, especially on what you've stopped tolerating or believing? The third category is often where the most powerful hidden gains live. Yes, I would say that this is accurate. And in regards to number 3, there's definitely a lot of things that I have stopped tolerating because AI is helping me learn faster, test experiments faster, a tighter feedback loop, and it's also giving me a remarkable amount of confidence in being able to solve high pressure challenges in the moment. So that is definitely changing. And also the health regime changes are representing the pattern, stopping the pattern of putting myself last. So yes, I would agree with all of that. So now Whisper Flow has captured my feedback. We're going to put this back into AI here. Here's our hidden gains table. Okay, so source experience, near burnout, pattern and long days. The hidden gain, built survival architecture, CEO operating system, Claudia, full agent infrastructure, not as a productivity experiment, but as a necessity. That is so true. Why it was hidden, felt like crisis management, not capability building. Yes, it did. The burnout pressure didn't break me. It forced me to build systems that will outlast any single hard season. And actually, this is true. This is true. This is one of the reasons that I keep showing up, is because I know that every single day that I do, I am adding to the foundation of my operating system so that I look forward to the fact that one day it will not require as much hands-on from me. So in Ernest Sand's complexity, develop the rare capacity to operate across multiple entities in genuine complexity simultaneously. Most operators never build this. I feel like I've lived my entire life here. So I don't know that I developed the rare capacity in the last 90 days, but managing Erna under pressure didn't just solve a problem, it proved I can hold complexity that would stop most people. Long hours, sharpen a precise instinct for what only Katie can do versus what belongs to an agent or a partner. Yes, a distinction most operators never get clear on. Every long day has taught me something about where my real leverage is and where to stop spending myself. Right, and if you remember the Let Them book that we did in January, I have a walk planned for that energy at 2:00, right? AI becoming central to all operations is an identity shift from tool user to systems architect. I don't just use AI, I build with it, deploy it, teach it, and sell it. Happened gradually, so it felt like normal work. Somewhere in the last 90 days, I stopped being someone who uses AI and became someone who builds with it. That's a different person. Running 4 businesses, what felt like too much was actually training for a kind of operational range most people will never have. And yeah, I will actually accept that compliment. Operational range. Chelsea partnership. I didn't just offload tasks to Chelsea. I built a partnership that makes Simply DO bigger than me. Also true and exciting. AI feedback loops, replacing guesswork. I'm not just working faster, I'm becoming a different kind of thinker, one who can solve hard problems in real time with real confidence. True. And the health regime, taking care of myself isn't separate from building Simply DO. It's the foundation everything else runs on. Do any of these hidden gains surprise you? I'll be honest, the one I'd flag for you is the identity shift from tool user to architect. That one tends to sneak past people because it happens in the doing, not in a single moment. But it's one of the most significant things in the entire table. Ready to measure and rank. Step 4 is where we assign real weight to all of this. And I'm going to say yes, I am ready to move on to step 4. Measure and rank your gains. Now we put it all together, obvious and hidden, and we measure it. This is the step that converts everything we've extracted into actual confidence and momentum, not hype, but evidence. 3 questions. First pass is mine. Love it. Love it, Claude. You are doing so good at empowering yourself to take the initiative. Looking across everything, obvious and hidden, which 3 gains feel the most significant to you and why? The evidence for each of your top 3. What's the tangible proof that this gain is real? What can you actually point to? And the 1, if you could only keep 1 gain from the last 90 days, 1 thing you'd refuse to give back, which would it be and why? So the top 3... the systems architect identity shifts, sustainable consistency through AI feedback loops, and the health regime. Yes, my top 3. So each of the top 3, what's the tangible proof? So the evidence, systems architect, funding finder, CEO operating system, Claudia, Mineral Man agent workflow, the Earn a toolkit. These aren't experiments, they're deployed functioning systems built by your hands. Consistency through AI, the LinkedIn outreach campaign running at volume with measurable feedback, the fact that you're still running it, health regime, the evidence. Yes. The 1. Okay, so what's the 1, if I could only keep 1 gain that I'd refuse to give back? I think if you had to keep only 1, it would be the systems architect identity shift. Yes, I definitely agree with that. Yes. I agree. Proceed. So here's our gain ranking. Top gains with evidence and impact. Okay. Look at this. Okay, so I like this. So we've ranked this gain, the identity shift tool user to systems architect. Here is my evidence. This is the category that it falls into, and here's the impact statement. This gain doesn't just change what I can do, it changes what I am, and it makes every future gain more possible than the last. Now that impact statement feels really powerful to me. I really like that reframe. I do believe it's true. Now we have gain number 2, the sustainable consistency with AI feedback loops. For the first time, consistency isn't a willpower problem. It's a systems problem I've already solved. Yes. And that makes me really proud and also slightly relieved. Health regime is number 3. So this is taking care of myself isn't something I'll get to eventually. I already started, and that changes the foundation everything else is built on. So does this ranking feel right? It does. We have everything we need. Step 5 is your complete gain extraction journal. Compiled and clean, ready to keep and repeat every 90 days. Ready to build it? Yes. Okay, so now it is moving us into our final deliverable for today's workshop, which is our gain extraction journal. So the 90-day event map, we have our work events, we have our personal events, we have our setbacks and challenges, we have the obvious gains table. Okay, what 90 days ago Katie would have said for each one of those gains. We have the hidden gains table, right? Why was it hidden? Felt like crisis management, not capability building. Felt like a burden, not a skill. Felt like inefficiency, not discernment. That is true. Happened so gradually, it felt like normal work. Felt like chaos, not capability. Felt like delegation, not relationship growth. Felt like normal workflow improvement. Felt like a personal matter unrelated to professional gains. True. And I'm finding that this column of why it was hidden is kind of insightful for me anyway. And I'll be curious to hear what you guys think in a few minutes when we flip to coming back into community and sharing insights and feedback. But that hidden column was real insightful for me. Okay, and the reframe is also insightful. The burnout pressure didn't break me. It forced me to build systems that will outlast any single hard season. So again, these constraints actually produced valuable outcomes, and I am learning that that is what the gap and the gain is meant to be teaching us. So I think the why it was hidden and the reframe are pretty powerful columns that I encourage you to take some time with your final deliverable to read and understand those. So we've got our gain ranking, the top 3 gains. We've got section 5, the one pattern. Your dominant gain type across this 90-day period is identity gains. Almost every gain on this list, obvious and hidden, traces back to a shift in who you are, not just what you did. The systems architect shift, the health regime, the consistency breakthrough, even the Chelsea partnership, these aren't task completions, they're identity expansions. This matters because identity gains are the most durable kind. Skills can rust, projects ends, but who you became in the last 90 days doesn't go away. So one question to carry forward. Am I measuring what I've become or only what I haven't finished yet? Well, today it definitely feels like I'm measuring what I haven't finished yet, but I'm glad that we are doing this AI action class because it's helping me to remember to measure what I have become. Ask this daily. When the gap pulls, and it will, this question pulls you back into the gain. It is the simplest possible intervention against the most expensive thinking habit you have. And I'm going to highlight this as like a powerful reframe for me. Ask yourself daily, what have I become? Instead of what I haven't finished yet. What have I become? So this can be an intervention against the most expensive thinking habit that pulls us back into the gap. So this concludes your gain extraction journal for quarter 1, 2026. You just converted 90 days of lived experience, the hard days, the long hours, the pressure, the launches, the party, the health reset into measured, claimed, documented progress. The gains were always there, now they're yours. So repeat this process in 90 days and watch what compounds. So would you like to make any changes before finalizing? Would you like me to package this as a downloadable HTML file in the Simple EDO design system? See, AI knows me really well. So I'm going to give it some instructions. Yes, I do want this in a downloadable HTML file that I can add to my operating system under my personal folders. So this is something that we can reference as we continue to make more gains and review in early July 2026. So I'm going to give these instructions and ask AI to turn this into an HTML file that I will show to you guys in just a moment. I'm going to expand this so we can see what AI is doing. It's reading a front end. Yeah, we're going to close that out because that's not relevant, but we can see what AI is doing right here when we expand that. And I have been adding these HTML files from our AI action classes to my CEO operating system that's running on my desktop with AI, because this wisdom or intellectual knowledge that we are gaining through these AI action classes, I am hypothesizing can help improve my operating system. It's almost like the integrity or values that my system runs on, right? So it helps make my system smarter. But while this is creating the final output, I want to come back to you guys for your insights and your feedback, and we can take a look at this in a moment. All right. Feel free to pull yourself off of mute or drop a comment in the chat. Let me know how this is landing for you guys. Did anybody run at the same time as me, or is everybody waiting until after the demonstration is complete?
I'm waiting until after the demonstration is complete, but what I do notice and what I've gotten through multiple of these action classes is just what a powerful reflection tool AI can be. Because all of these, as I've been utilizing these workflows to do the previous action, it started surfacing all these different things and articulating things about myself that were really either blind spots or things that I didn't know how to express. And so it's just really powerful the way it's helping me to, I guess, understand myself and how to explain myself, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah, that is really awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Brandon. Yeah, and one of the things that I noticed when we first started doing these AI action classes, we started them in December and we did the best year journal. And one of the reflections in the best year journal was you had to look back on setbacks and challenges. And that was always a hard question for me to answer because it just feels like a heavy emotional lift when you have to like excavate all the times you felt like you failed. And so now when AI can just surface that for you, it makes it easier to get to the next step in the project. So I agree. I felt that too. And thank you for sharing that.
I do have a question. Like with your CEO
Of course.
framework, so like is basically from all the output from all of these action classes, because you're actually doing all of them and creating all of this output, like
Mhm.
was today's session like a reflection of what it looks like when Claude, through I guess his co-work, is looking at all that data and then being able to use that to inform yet another set of action activities?
The short answer is no, because I was running Claude in my web browser window. So the Claude AI tool that I ran today for today's AI action class is not actually connected to my CEO operating system. So it doesn't have access to those files or that information. So I'm asking it to create a downloadable HTML that I will then import into the CEO operating system. So it will complement what's already in the operating system. Great question though.
I thought it was interesting that it pulled a lot of my kids from, the last 90 days and kind of gave me credit for some of it.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine it would have been difficult for them to reach those milestones without your help and support. So it feels a little bit like a shared
Yeah.
win, maybe.
Right. So that was kind of a hidden thing for me. I was like, "Oh yeah." But it told me I built a daughter,
You
which was
built.
it's an interesting way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you agree with its assessment, or did the AI give you some logic or reasoning why it framed the statement that way?
Well, I didn't ask, but I might go back and ask
Yeah.
why it used that verbiage. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna go find out why.
Yeah, I'd be curious to find out. And I'm also curious, based on that insight that you shared, you know how when I ran mine, it said near the end, it categorized like your gains.
Hmm.
I'm trying to find where it was in there and how it reframed this because it put them into a category. And I'm wondering if it did it prescribe you a category too, Shab?
Yeah, so relationship for that one.
Okay, so yeah, the one pattern, your dominant
Hmm.
gain type across 90-day period was relationships. Okay, cool.
Well, that specific one was categorized. Let's see.
Okay,
But yeah, that was interesting.
interesting. Good to hear it. Did anybody else run the workflow the same time as I did?
I ran the one from last week and I thought it was really helpful too. It gave me a lot of perspectives that I hadn't thought about before. I spent a lot of time thinking about things, and so the fact that I could come up with things that were really helpful shifts that felt really uplifting and inspiring was really helpful. And then with the report, I decided to switch it up a little bit based on what I learned in the previous action class, and you can tell it to redo things. So add the colors and all that. But then I'm also like, I don't want my final deliverable to start with all the drudgery of all the gaps, right? Like I want to see the gain stuff and the moving forward at the top. So then I was like, okay, I want you to move all of that to the top and then take some of these highlights and put them in like bold colors, add a little graphic and whatever. So that when I open it, I don't start with all the bad stuff. It starts with the stuff I want to walk away refocusing on. And so it was really easy to do that. And that was a really neat thing that I learned in the action class, in a previous action class.
That's awesome. I love how, yeah, you have been experimenting with taking the deliverables and making them more aesthetically pleasing to you. So I love that. I would love, gosh, I wish there was some way that we could share our deliverables with one another. You know, maybe that will be a new element I add to a future AI action class, is how we can,
I guess you
you
could
know,
put them
share.
in a folder.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, if you want, yeah, if you want to share one of your beautiful deliverables in the public folder, Donna,
Sure.
as long as you don't mind sharing, it would be cool to see one another's deliverables so we can take that learning away and apply it to our own work. One of the other things that I've done in my CEO operating system is I've created a design system, Donna, that informs how my deliverables are designed according to entity, because each entity has a different brand, you know? So different colors, different texts, so on and so forth. And so that way, for my simple EDO entity, all the deliverables that I create are already branded for that business.
Well, that's perfect. Yeah, it was just
So that,
really, really helpful. These workflows are great because it's just it's so much more engaging, and it just gets a lot of depth. And then the probing questions and the reframing and just seeing things, and then it says stuff and you're like, wait, no, it's actually a little bit more like this. And it just makes the book content really interactive instead of passive consumption. And I just really, I love it. These have been so helpful and so interesting. And yeah, so thank you so much for all the work you put into doing these. They're fantastic.
no, my pleasure. I love it. This is my kind of like nerdiness. So I'm totally into it. I'm glad you guys are here for it too.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
agree with that. I agree with that. Definitely. It's taken all my pleasure reading time though. So I hope that at some point I get back to reading my books.
yeah, you know what I've done, Shav, is I've just made a rule for myself that I no longer read business or personal development books. I only read fiction.
Well, that's what I was doing. But I found my dominant pattern, and that it pointed out is adaptive capability. So that showed up in my parenting and my life architecture and my work, everything. So I thought that was interesting.
That's awesome. Well, let's take a quick look at my final deliverable here. And also, I was talking about my design system. You can see that this is adhered to the Simple EDO design system. This is the branding for Simple EDO. So gain extraction journal here, Q1 2026, January through April. Next review, early July. It even put Claudia's email on there. That's probably not relevant since this is more of a personal deliverables, but so here is our 90-day event map. Okay, obvious gains table, hidden gains table, gain ranking, one pattern, one question to carry forward, journal complete. There we go. So this is what it looks like. And a reminder for folks who are working with HTML files for the first time, you can simply download these to your downloads folder. And once it is in your downloads folder, let me show you how I access this, because folks always seem to be a little bit confused when they're using an HTML file for the first time. So it will go into your downloads folder. So you can see right here, I have my gain extraction journal, and all you need to do is double click this and it's automatically going to open in your web browser. So that's how you guys work with an HTML file. You can attach these to emails, just like historically we've used PDFs. But one of the things that's super powerful about HTML files is that it can be read by a human and a machine, right? PDF documents, for example, are hard for machines to read, but easy for humans to read. And so the HTML kind of becomes the tool or the file that fills that gap. All right, but back to you guys. Chelsea, did you run it?
Started it, and then I don't know if it's because of my internet or what. We had a terrible rainstorm last night, but it said it didn't know anything about me. I tried to get it to answer it for me, and it was like, I don't know anything about you. How about answer these questions? And then you were moving so fast. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to pause because I don't know what I accomplished in the last 90 days. But I hate it when that happens. I'm like, I've got 30 million chat threads, but maybe I
Right.
opened a new one and it maybe I did it wrong.
Did you use a different LLM from what you normally use?
No, I'm in Claude. I'm not using the desktop version. I had opened the browser so I could go back and forth watching you and doing mine, and it just said that it didn't know. I said, I genuinely don't have any information about you. There's no profile history or past conversations. And I'm like, yes, there are. So I just
I
paused.
know. Well, sometimes AI can confuse itself, and when it gives me responses like that, I'll have to remind it, like, can you go back and check your brains? Because I'm sure that we've discussed this.
I did it twice. I said, let's retry. Answer these based on what you know about me. And it said the same thing. And I was like, darn it. Okay, pause.
Okay, interesting. Good to
Katie,
know.
I forgot to add, just based on what I was learning in this AI action class, I added into my AI settings instructions that after every session to make recommendations on additional AI skills that would be useful through that or other things. So now it just automatically prompts additional AI skills. And out of this one, it was good because the gains were so, like it was really helpful reframing. And it's like, a recommendation would be to program this so that you rerun this report in 90 days and check again. And I was like, oh, that's really good. So it has all kinds of different things that it suggests. And so then I already set a timer in my calendar to run this again in 90 days to run the gains. Yeah, it's helpful. It's been interesting.
That's excellent, and that is a wonderful application. Like, I'm impressed. Way to go, Donna. That's really good. And are you using a desktop version or are you using it in the web browser?
I've done both depending on which machine I'm on. I'd say I'd probably use the desktop route or the desktop version more often, but sometimes it'll freeze up a little bit or the cursor won't go in there, so then I'll go over and use the web browser version. But yeah, that's been helpful too to get the ideas on additional AI skills out of the different things. And I tell it, if there's anything out of this session you can pull out that would be a helpful skill for the future, or if nothing, then just some random AI thing that would be helpful to learn and with prompting or whatever. So yeah, that's been a nice little addition that it just runs it automatically. But because there's just so much I've learned from this AI action class that I was like, help me learn more.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And that's also like the beginning of you being like a systems architect, right? Because now you're like documenting what you're learning and feeding it back into, your operating system essentially. So great work. Great work.
First of all, Donna, I want to say thank you for the suggestions that you make because you always have like really good insight. It was through the tiny experiments I think I followed you to here, and that has been great. So thank you. You have been doing that from day one for me. But Katie, I wanted to tell you that I did not run this one while doing it because I have learned because you go really fast and so much. I follow along and then I do it later. But the other thing that I have learned from you is I am in a PhD program. So it's through you learning how to use AI as a thinking partner and the different ways to kind of employ that outside of the suggested workflows that you have. So that has been a vital skill, I feel like, for me that I have really been able to kind of tap into. And now, as I think through some of these things that I'm questioning and asking, it's helping me to be that thinking partner. So thank you for that, because that has, in addition to like following Donna here, which now apparently I need to follow her everywhere I go when it comes to AI, that has been a vital skill that has been transformative in other areas of my life. So thank you for that. But Donna, I need those prompts that you just said. Like I need the verbiage because I didn't hear it fast enough to write it down.
Sure. I'll put my email address in the chat.
Beautiful. Thank you.
There you go. Excellent. No, thank you for sharing that, Cheryl. That's wonderful. Yeah. Very, very exciting. What is your PhD?
So my PhD, it's a PhD in education specifically because I'm in learning design technology or learning technology design research. I am exploring how to use, basically how do we create cognitively accessible learning environments for neurodivergent students, particularly in higher education. So
I love that. I'm so excited about that, Cheryl. And I'm so glad that you're here because I think that a lot of these tools can be like incorporated into how, that comes out. And speaking as a neurodivergent, I got to tell you, I love AI. It's like my best buddy, and it can finally, it feels like there's now finally a tool that can move at the speed of my brain.
Yes. Well, I'm neurodivergent also. as I am learning, is that's not represented a whole lot in people who study the neurodivergence in education, especially in this environment. But I'm specifically honing in for ADHD and autism. So those are my two, and how can we design a better learning environment for them. So instructional design for neurodivergence, but that doesn't ever mean anything to anybody when I say that.
Well, I love it. I'm so glad you're here, Cheryl, and let us know what we can do to continue to support your work, because that is important stuff you're doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that note of encouragement. I kind of needed that today.
Sounds like we're having the Mondayest Thursday ever. I am anyway. But it's my first day back to the office from vacation, so I probably should have just anticipated that it was going to be, a little stop and start. All right, so we are at the top of the hour, so I am going to wrap us up. Thank you guys for being here. I believe that we have our contact information and everything in the chat, so please reach out to us. Let us know what we can do to support your next steps, and we look forward to seeing you guys in the next AI action class. Have a great one.